Our favourite time of the week to talk to our favourite person in the world, the one, the only, the amazing Megyn Kelly. Megyn, lovely to see you, mate. Happy summer wherever you are right now. Are you enjoying the rays?
Thank you. Yes, it's actually quite beautiful here on the East Coast of the United States at this time of year. I apologize because I know you're not experiencing that at the moment. But here, yes, the sun is out. Finally, the humidity is here, which is great. I'm the one person for whom that's a good thing for my hair because I have toddler hair. So it actually just looks a little bit more bodied in the humidity. Anyway, life is good.
Body and bounce. We love it. It's something we're very committed to on this program. We know there was no better moment than in the past few days than, of course, when the world was teetering on the brink of World War III and the president on his way to the helicopter to deal with the world's problems drops the F-bomb, and that became part of the story. Well, one of the stories today is that the president is going to the alligator Alcatraz, but we can't talk about that yet because on his way to the helicopter, to go to the plane, to go to alligator Alcatraz, he has a little bit to say about his former mate, who, remember, I think even rented property in Mar-a-Lago, Elon Musk, suggesting he may deport him.
He's upset that he's losing his EV mandate, and he's very upset about things, but he could lose a lot more than that. Doge is the monster that might have to go back and eat Elon. Wouldn't that be terrible?
This will never happen, but thoughts, Megyn?
Mom and dad are fighting again. It's always uncomfortable for the children. You don't want to witness it. You want it done behind closed doors where they can work things out quietly. Elon hates the big, beautiful bill. I'm sure he genuinely, sincerely hates it. It does, like on its papers, increase the deficit by some $3 trillion over 10 years. Trump doesn't believe that. And I understand he's actually got a very colorable argument, which is this thing is going to unleash such growth and prosperity in America that's not accounted for. The growth is not factored in at all by these number crunchers who simply look at what are the outlays and what are the expected incomes. And when it comes to taxing people, it doesn't factor in growth. So Trump is trying to say, you're misjudging it. And I think he genuinely believes that. Elon doesn't like spending. He's been, of course, on Doge trying to stop too much government spending. And let's face it, Elon also doesn't like the fact that these green energy subsidies are being taken away. This was all in what Trump calls the Green New Scam. It was Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which was really just a green energy bill offering these subsidies for wind power and solar power and EVs to try to make people convert to this kind of energy, which we hate. I'm sorry, but we hate. Wind energy is a joke. It sucks. And all those wind turbines all over our beautiful oceans are killing whales. There's all sorts of evidence that it's really causing massive problems, not to mention they're unsightly, they're ugly, they're ruining some of the most beautiful coastlines in America. So people don't want this. The only way they buy these energy programs is if they're subsidized by their fellow taxpayers. And Trump is saying in this big, beautiful bill, that's one of the things that's going. I'm going to create no taxes on tips for waiters and waitresses. I'm going to do no taxes on overtime for the working class, no taxes on Social Security for the elderly. But something's got to give. Otherwise, we really will run up the deficit. And what I want to give, among other things, is I'm done subsidizing these loser industries. We're capitalists. Either you make it on your own or you're done. Sorry, that's the way life works. But Elon has a massive presence in the EV industry, and I think possibly the solar industry as well, and very much objects to this. And so he's been very critical, and now he's resumed his talk of creating a third party. And also on Monday, he said he was going to primary anyone who votes for this thing, which means literally every Republican but two in the Senate and virtually the same in the House. And Trump's getting annoyed again. So he is talking about possibly deporting him and possibly sicking Doge on Elon's subsidies that he gets from the feds.
I've just got this image of, the ICE agents turning up and Elon's just, running like the billionaire towards his spacecraft to go up and just live above us, just float around constantly as a intergalactic citizen with the president, waving every time it goes over. And look, for people outside of America trying to pull apart the detail inside the big, beautiful bill, but basically Trump went, look, we can do things bit by bit over 4 years, or we'll do it all at once, take it or leave it. And that means there's a lot of unpleasant tasting sandwiches for people that would have opposed things but are putting it all together. We'll see what happens. There's vote-a-ramas. happening right now in the US where they're desperately trying to get this thing done. But let's get to Alligator Alcatraz. I don't know who came up with the name, but a bravo to the branding department. Very well. We all know what this means, which is I don't want to go there.
Right, exactly. Well, Trump's original idea was to reopen the actual Alcatraz, this prison, infamous prison off the coast of San Francisco, where we used to house some of our worst criminals. It was closed. There are all sorts of environmental problems out there. And Trump, in his sort of off-the-cuff way, was like, let's reopen that. We can send all the illegals and like the worst of the worst out there. But that's a nightmare, and environmentally was never going to happen. And so I think he got off of that pretty quickly, stopped talking about it. And suddenly we had Alligator Alcatraz, which is a great name. And I heard my friends over at Real Clear Politics debating on whether it should instead be called Python Prison, because there's a lot of pythons down in this same region.
That could be
I
a
think
win.
Alligator Alcatraz is better. But yeah, either way, it could be like the subheading on a book, also known as. And that's where they want to put some of the worst of worst illegals that we're rounding up here. Okay, like, all these Senator Chris Van Hollen, you don't want us to ship him off to El Salvador? How does Alligator Alcatraz sound to you? Ron DeSantis is an ally to the president and is totally on board. And this thing is supposed to be able to house some 5,000 of our worst offenders. So cool.
I think it's brilliant. I honestly, this branding alone, that message will go to every single corner of everyone and make them even more afraid, and rightly so.
Well, just out of curiosity, as an Aussie, I've got to ask you: would you prefer to be confronted with a bunch of pythons while breaking out of a prison, or a bunch of alligators?
The reason I say alligator is what you should stick with is because sometimes, people who work out, they have pythons, big pythons, muscles. So that would sort of seem like, I don't know, there'd kind of be a strange energy coming out of the python prison. I think that's just a place you can work out, right? But alligator, because obviously we've got crocodiles and, they kick alligators' asses all day, no question, right? But I don't want to be mucking around with an alligator. Anytime you even see those things on a golf course, you want to run the other way, let alone thinking about, hey, Jose, do you want to jump over the fence? No. Why? There's alligators there.
That's right. And also remember this, if you ever get chased by one, run serpentine. You got to go left or right. Not a straight line.
See, this is officially education, right? So if that helps with everyone with their taxes, you've just had an education session at the University of Reality here. Now,
we're saving lives.
We are all day, every day. Before, of course, the potential new ultra left-wing communist, whatever, mayor of New York takes over. Now, I did a whole thing on the show last night that, as a person who just loves the city from the other side of the world, got married there to my beautiful bride, Sian, I want it to be amazing, right? You obviously used to live there. You know how great it can be. But if they choose this bloke, it goes down the toot fast, quick. My thing is, the way to beat this guy is not to go on about the socialism, not to go on about some of the Middle East stuff. It's law and order. His policies on law and order are the same ones that result in you can take whatever you want from the shops. His government-funded grocery stores will be being looted as soon as you put the bread down, somebody loots. But more importantly, close Rikers. Basically, unless you're caught shooting somebody in the head, you don't go to jail. So free stuff's great, but if somebody's going to steal it from you, it's not going to be a good idea. I think that's the only lane because, like it or not, he's got the look, he's got the talk, he's got the disruption. If you're somebody who's living in the poorer parts of the city, well, he's selling right to you, but not if it comes at the expense of cops getting killed.
I think that's very smart because his radicalism on that front is extreme. He wants to defund the police, he wants to decarcerate the prisons, and he wants to take away everyone's guns, which is blatantly unconstitutional. But that's a scary platform that he's openly embracing. He's said this on camera, these things, and all over his Twitter feed, his X feed. So he is truly radical, and New Yorkers are definitely not for defund the police. They've lived that to some extent. We saw in the post-George Floyd world that they tried to defund the police to the tune of $1 billion. And New Yorkers rose up and said, we don't want that. In particular, New Yorkers who are in the poorer areas of the 5 boroughs, because they're the ones who are going to get hurt. The people who are on the Upper East Side in the doorman locked up buildings, they're not going to have to worry. It's the people who live in the Bronx and in the worst parts of Brooklyn and Queens that actually need cops. So I think you're right. This sort of white $100,000 a year contingent that put him at the top of the Democratic field is not large enough to propel him into the actual mayor's house. If these other groups get together, the Hispanic voters don't like him, the Black voters don't like him, the working class doesn't like him. So and by the way, the mega rich don't like him because, of course, he hates them. So there is a coalition to be had. The problem is it's very late in the game. It's not that easy to get on the ballot. Cuomo is not dynamic enough, and they hate him. It's like you brought out a bunch of stinky, dirty underwear, and you want us to vote for that instead of this guy who I can't stand, but I can't vote for the stinky, dirty underwear. It's not going to make me get out of my house on election day. So he's not the answer. Then you got Eric Adams, who's got a whole host of other problems. People don't want to vote for the corrupt guy. They know he's corrupt. He denies it. But, I mean, it's obvious. Okay, whatever. They're not inspired by him, nor has he been a good mayor. He hasn't. You know, we kind of thought, okay, former cop, I guess he's like the least bad, but he hasn't been strong. New York still sucks under him. Bill de Blasio was another version, by the way, of this Mamdani guy. He was just as socialist as this man is. Then he ruined New York. He took it from a thriving metropolis that was the envy of the world and ruined it. I lived there for the entire time. So now we're going to double down on those problems. But in any event, Eric Adams is too flat-footed as a politician. He's not naturally gifted and too perceived as corrupt. And for some segment of Democrats, too in bed with the Trump administration, with whom he had to cut his deal on immigration in order to get those charges pulled. So I don't think he's the answer either. They got to fight fire with fire. They need a young, dynamic, interesting, I want to say zesty, but that now has a different meaning in the kids' brain rot talk. Anyway, but, you know, somebody with a verve, you know, with sort of an energy that's going to like storm these synagogues and mosques and churches and town halls and say, like, this guy's a nutcase. Let me bring New York back to its former glory. And ideally, if this person could be a capitalist who understands the lifeblood of New York is the financial industry, and there is not a person within it who believes we should seize the means of production as a way of saving New York and the country, as this nutcase is saying, and then the law and order stuff, they could win. It's just logistically very challenging at this point.